So probably you are thinking of becoming an iStockphoto contributor, or you are lost mid in the application process. After my experiences, iStockphoto is one of the most professional and therefore also most rigid stock selling agencies out there. But it's certainly worth trying, both as a personal and as a professional challenge. This tutorial will deal with the iStockphoto quality standards for vector illustrations and will guide you step by step through a typical quality check before you would submit your artwork to iStockphoto for review. I'm going to concentrate on the technical aspects here, as laid down in the iStockphoto Stock Illustration Training Manual. So we are going to have a look at the correct file formats for submission. We are having a look at avoiding lack of editability. Also unconverted fonts, and especially stray points and shapes, open shapes, unconverted custom fills and strokes. The file which I prepared for this tutorial has actually passed the iStockphoto quality control and is now part of my portfolio on iStockphoto. Of course, I built in some typical flaws, errors and mistakes so that I can demonstrate by using this vectographic illustration how you should check on your file in order to comply to iStockphoto quality standard. To begin with, let us deal with the issue of open, unclosed shapes. I prepared an Illustrator file illustrating that specific problem. Have a look at the shape here to the left. It looks fine at a first glance, but if I'm going to select it, then you can see that there are actually two anchor points which are not connected, and you should avoid this under all circumstances. It really doesn't matter if the stroke is set to none. If I apply a color here and scale up the stroke weight, then you can see that this is really a problem you need to take care of. Same things with strokes which have a fill applied. This results in very odd vector graphic forms, and it's not allowed on iStockphoto. The way to do it is demonstrated here below. This is a plain closed shape, just beautiful, and you are also allowed to use single strokes without a fill, like in this sample. That's it. First problem for us would be how to find those annoying open shapes and strokes with fill applied. Unfortunately, Illustrator offers no built-in routine for finding open shapes and strokes with a fill, but we can find some very helpful plugins and scripts on the internet. If you're working on Illustrator CS3 to CS5, you can go to this webpage, rj-graphics.com/software/plugins.html. There you will find, amongst other things, the concatenate and the select plugins. You can download those plugins here, follow the instructions and integrate this into your Illustrator CS3 to CS5 installation. I'm, however, working on Illustrator CS6, and since Adobe changed the plugin structure for CS6, those plugins unfortunately are not working anymore in Illustrator CS6. There is a fine workaround offered though at the Adobe Community Forum. forums.adobe.com/thread/10.34.9.37. Here you can find a JavaScript for selecting open paths in Illustrator CS6. Here is the small JavaScript. You need to copy the script and then to use a text editor, a plain text editor of your choice, Notepad or Notepad++, to save this as a plain JavaScript file. Just follow the instructions on this website. Once you have prepared your JavaScript, we can return to Illustrator. If we want to use this JavaScript in our Illustrator installation, we need to integrate it. First, we need to find out where the application folder of our current Illustrator illustration exactly is located. We can get this information from the main menu Help, and there we got the system info. If you scroll down this very extensive list of information, you finally, here it is, will find the information about the program's application folder. In my case, it is in C, my C drive, Program Files, Adobe Illustrator CS6 64-bit. Okay, now I'm going to find this folder in the Windows Explorer. Comes here. So I'm on C drive, Program Files, Adobe folder. There is my Illustrator CS6 64-bit version. And if you're inside this folder, check for the presets folder. If you open this, you will reach a language folder. And inside this folder, I have the scripts folder. Open it. I have already placed my JS JavaScript file in this folder. Select Open Paths. All what you need to do now is to copy the file exactly into this folder. When you're done, you need to restart Illustrator because all scripts and plugins are read in at program startup. Once you have restarted Illustrator, you should have access to the script now by choosing File from the main menu and then look out for the script section, and voila, there it is. Select Open Paths. I'm going to try it right away. So I'm running the script and might take some time, but then, oops, a lot of objects are selected. So those are all objects which are open paths. Some of them might just be single strokes without the fill, but some forms probably will not match the iStockphoto quality standard. So I need to have a closer look what's going on here in my file. I then can see that most of the selected objects actually are single strokes with no visible fill applied, and those strokes are just representing scars on the shark's head. So this is absolutely okay. But then on an even closer look, I can see that there actually is a form which is not closed. In this case, the shark's jaw. I need to take the selection tool to deselect everything, and then I'm going to have a more specific look at this object. Here are obviously two anchor points which aren't connected, and I need to fix this problem. It's a good idea probably to isolate the selected object, gives me a better impression of what's going on here. In order to fix it, to close the shape, I'm going to take my direct selection tool, the white arrow here, and then I'm selecting one of the concerned anchor points, and then I'm shift clicking the second one. And now in order to join them, I can just choose from the main menu Object, Path, Join, and the shape is properly closed. I'm ending up here with one superfluous anchor point, and I can also clean up manually by using the pen tool here, or more specific, the delete anchor point tool. I'm just clicking on one of the anchor points and it's going to be deleted. So now I can get out of isolation mode, control the shape again probably, and now everything looks fine. So problem solved. You carefully need to inspect all the selected objects by the script, just to make sure that no open shape or stroke with a fill applied is escaping this control routine. Finally, I would run the script a second time. So again, File, Scripts, select Open Paths. As I can see, the jaw is not selected anymore, so I fixed this problem. And regarding the other selected objects, well, I just make sure that they are really now single strokes and that no fill is attached. While all the objects still are selected, I can check on the color panel, and then if fill is in the foreground, I simply click None, and then I made sure that all open paths have no fill attached. Now, what about custom brushes, effects, and filters? Your iStockphoto artwork must not contain custom brush strokes, effects, or filters. Brush strokes need to be converted, or as it's called, expanded to vectographic shapes, but effects and filters you should not use at all. In order to detect custom brush strokes on your artwork, I'm going to deselect here first, we can actually use some built-in Illustrator routines. Choose, select from the main menu, and then Object, Brush Strokes. One object is selected in my case, and I need to inspect this a bit more. It's a reflection in the shark's eye. Now, if I want to see what's really going on here, I would trigger the Appearance panel of my Illustrator installation. There I can see that this is actually, well, accidentally I applied a fill, that this is a stroke with a 3-point oval brush applied. I need to expand this form into a plain vectographic shape, and this is actually pretty easy. Under Object, Path, and then Outline Stroke, I can just convert and expand the affected brush. As you can see now, it's just a vectographic shape and no custom brush is involved. Now, effects and filters you should avoid under all circumstances. In order to demonstrate how to find those effects and filters, how to track them down in your Illustrator file, I'm going first to implement one of those effects. So I think I'm going to select here the outer form marking the shark's eye, and then I'm going to apply a typical effect. Let us say an stylize effect drop shadow. So I need to confirm the drop shadow dialog here. Okay, then it's applied, right? So not that those kind of bitmap-like effects do really not look nice on your vectographic artwork. If your file is not supposed to be rejected by the iStockphoto reviewers, you need carefully to avoid those filter and effects. You can track those effects down by, for instance, checking your layer structure. If you check on the circles here to the right of every object and layer, you will eventually find a filled circle. That means an appearance is applied. In your vectographic artwork, opacity and gradients as a appearance are absolutely allowed, but if a filter is involved, like in this object, you should not try to convert this or to flatten the appearance. You just delete it. So I'm going from the appearance panel here to select my drop shadow effect, and then I am deleting the effect again. So before you submit your file to iStockphoto, you would check on every single object involved. Is there appearance involved? Is the appearance based on opacity changes or on a gradient? That would be okay. Or is it a filter effect, which I probably just accidentally applied? We also need to make sure that our artwork contains no stray points. Stray points, well, happen all the time. You just use your pen tool, you click once on the artboard, and then probably shift to another tool and forget about the point you just created, you have a straight point. I'm going to downscale the view. Fortunately, Illustrator has also a built-in routine dealing with this problem. So you can just choose Select, Object, and then Straight Points. And all the straight points on your artwork are selected. So I don't need no further inspection. Those are straight points in my artwork, and I'm just going to delete them by pressing delete on my keyboard. Then I would run the routine again just to see if everything is cleaned up properly. Straight points again, no straight points selected. In addition, I can do a complete cleanup routine based on Illustrator defaults. It's under Object, Path, and then Cleanup. So here it is. I'm checking on straight points, unpainted objects, and empty text paths. So just press OK, and hopefully you will also get the notice no cleanup was necessary. Then everything is fine. Now we already are reaching the final steps of our cleaning process. If you used types, fonts in your artwork, you need to convert them into vectographic shapes like you would do in any professional vector file. But on iStockphoto you also have to regard copyright issues, so only use types and fonts with the proper license. You can convert types by selecting them and then choosing Type, Create Outlines from the Type menu. Right, and then you end up with vectographic shapes. However, I'm not going to integrate this anyway into my file, so it was just for demonstration purposes. Also, all guides need to be deleted from your artwork. So if you used guides for your working process, you need to clear them by choosing View, Guides, Clear All Guides. That would make sure that no guides are included. Then have a look at your Layers panel. All layers and objects need to be visible, so it's not allowed to have any object which is set to invisible in your artwork. All objects must be visible and unlocked, so it's also forbidden to deliver files with any locked object or a layer. Just check your file that it is completely unlocked and completely visible. So I cannot see any issue here in my file. Looks fine. Then make sure that all the content of your file is arranged in layers with appropriate naming, like for instance my background object here, the shark itself, and then I have some ornaments like the bubbles here in a layer. So it's very, very important that you organize your objects, and important objects you might also need to name further down in the layer structure, like the gills here, the scars, and yeah, well, that's it. Last step would be to get rid of all unused panel items like swatches or brushes, which are probably still in your libraries here. I'm going to have a look at my swatches. Well, I actually can see there are a lot of standard swatches which are obviously not used in my illustration. And also there are some brushes included. Now you don't want to submit those unused and superfluous panel items to your customers or to iStockphoto. Also, to deal with this problem, we have a pre-configured Illustrator routine, and in Illustrator CS6 you can find this under the Actions panel. If you scroll down, you find a standard action called Delete Unused Panel Items. You just need to select this and then to run it using the play button Then it runs through brushes and swatches, and the result would be that only swatches you actually have used and declared in your illustrations are included in the swatches library. And then if I have a view at my brushes, only the basic brush is included. Last thing remaining is then to publish your Illustrator file in the correct file format. First you want to save your Illustrator file, Control S, and it's saved. And then you can go ahead from the main menu, File, Save As. Then from the Save As type drop-down menu, choose Illustrator EPS and press the Save button. I'm going to replace my existing file. And here we have the EPS options. Now the most important thing is that you choose the correct EPS version, not the default Illustrator CS6 EPS, but according to iStockphoto quality standard, we need to downgrade to Illustrator 10 compatible EPS. So I choose Illustrator 10 EPS here. The preview format should be set to none. We are going to create a separate JPEG preview of the Illustrator file later. I'm not going to embed any fonts here because my artwork does not contain fonts, and if I would have converted them into vectographic shapes before. You can ignore the warning here, saving to a legacy format, and you just go ahead and confirm. OK. And also this alert can be ignored. It just notifies you that saving this document in an older format may convert all type, blah blah blah. So we just say OK, and here we are. Our Illustrator EPS file is ready. Now if you have a look into your file folder, you should see the originally generated Illustrator file together with the EPS file we just created. One more check: if you open this encapsulated PostScript file in a text editor, a plain text editor of your choice, I'm going to do this with Notepad++. Then you can control the document header. If it reads like here, PS Adobe 3.1 EPSF 3.0, you published into the correct format. So congratulations, you produced a quality controlled iStockphoto quality standard compatible EPS file. Hope this tutorial was helpful, and I'm looking forward to see you again here on Section Q. Goodbye.